relationships everywhere. He did not evangelize the Jewish people. Why? Because we wouldn't have a ministry, first of all, there. We'd be asked coming to leave tomorrow. And that's okay, because the Jewish people have, if you know the Jewish people, they're community people. The outsiders are not so much invited to be in. They protect that. As I studied early Christianity, I saw you have to begin to see that Jesus was a Jew and is a Jew and forever will be a Jew. I am the line of the tribe of Judah. I am the root of Ishai, or Jesse. I am the root of David. What did he say to the woman at the well? Let me enlighten you just for a moment. She's come to the well to get water, and she's got her water basket on her shoulder, and there he is. Well, she recognizes him right away because he's dressed as a Jew. He looks like a Jew. She knows he is. And he says, give me some water. She's thinking immediately, you want me to give you water? But I'm a woman and a Gentile. Jews don't ask women and they don't ask Gentiles to give them water. But he did. He said, if you knew who was really talking to you, you'd know that I can give you water that's everlasting. So she's talking to him, and now picture this in your imagination. She's talking to him, and she said, you know what? She says, our people, our leaders, tell us we need to worship on Mount Gerizim. But, you know, you people, you say it's Jerusalem. And it's amazing because if you go and you read this story carefully and you look through Jewish eyes, and you have to imagine yourself hearing as Jesus taught, not as Gentiles have taught us often, but what did he say? He stops and he says, salvation is of the Jews. That's a strange question. She's talking away. He told her there'd be a time when you wouldn't even worship in both places, but he said one thing. We Jews. He identifies himself.
Yeah.
We Jews. We know who we worship. Well, that's very clear. The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The church, as it grew into the church, which Jesus did not start the church, it developed later on. It was a Jewish sect. All the disciples were Jews. All the people in Jerusalem who came to hear Jesus were Jews. They were. And, you know, as it developed and Christianity developed, there was one thing. What did the epistles say? What did the disciples who heard what Jesus taught, where did his words come from? Well, there was no New Testament at that time. What did he teach from? Well, a very wise man, Dr. Dwight Pryor, he said, first of all, I don't believe, now if I shock you at anything, just relax. It's all okay. But you need to know what it's like to live among the Jews, and then to study early Christianity to where it came from. He said, first of all, I believe, he makes it clear. How many knew who Dr. Dwight Pryor? Well, surely the Christian Jewish Center in Cincinnati, Ohio. He's passed away. Anybody else know Dr. Pryor? Okay. Well, do you know Brad Young from Oral Roberts University? or Dr. Booker, or some of these people, or Dr. John Garr, or some of these folks, okay, they're scholars, okay. He said, I don't believe in a Christian Messiah. No way. Oh, what do you believe in? He said, I believe in a Jewish Messiah. He's either Jewish or he's not the Messiah. The Bible doesn't talk about. That's a scholar for you, you know, because they've studied. And then another wise man said, if you believe in Jesus, then you better start learning about the faith of Jesus. So therefore, when you read your Bible and you pick it up, where did the words of Jesus come from? He would say, it is written. Where is it written? It's written in what we call the Old Testament. It's the Torah. It simply means instruction. You don't have to be afraid of the Torah. It's not a law that you go under. It's instruction.
Sure.
Very good. And so, in learning about early Christianity, it gave us the answers to be able to respond to our Jewish people.
Yeah.
Why didn't the Christians follow the Judaism of Jesus? Because, and I'll stop because I might get into too much of a teaching mode. I'm sorry.
Your
But
dreams is great.
Yeah,
I'm loving
we
it.
love it.
We love every bit of it. Wow.
I keep a translator. The Lindsay family gave us a Bible with 26 translations, so you can compare translations of the Bible, not just the King James, but you can, the different translators. I also have my Hebrew book, Dr. Stern's. I'm sure you have his New Testament and the commentary. We're neighbors, and then he passed away. I have also an Orthodox, what they call an Orthodox Bible. It's that thick, but it's the only Orthodox Bible written by a Messianic Jew from the Bronx. He spent 25 years as a believer translating right from the Hebrew everything, all the way through the writings of the apostles, which we call the New Testament. If you want to see what the meanings are, my rabbi who said to me, Sharon, you need to look at the meanings behind the words. And then before he passed away, he said, I want you to make sure you educate. So, I'll try to wrap this up. Then if you have questions, you can ask me. A wise man in the United States Senate, Reverend Richard Halverson, about 25 years ago, he was a chaplain of the U.S. Senate. And they were speaking about religious issues. And I don't want you to take this wrong, but this is what he told the Senate, because he knew the history of Christianity. He said, Christianity was born in Jerusalem. It was a faith movement of the Jewish people. But then it moved to Greece, and it became a philosophy. Then it moved to Rome and became an institution. From there, it went to Europe, and it became a culture.
That's right.
Now, don't take this wrong, but he said, and then it moved to America and became an enterprise.
Yeah. Lord, forgive us.
It became something kind of different, and in the history from where it began to where we are today, along the way, the apostles said in the epistles, when we die, when we're gone, make sure you do not follow something different than what we Jews taught you.
From the beginning.
What did they mean? In other words, they said grievous wolves will come into the flock.
Mm.
Men will come in and they will twist
Mhm.
the scriptures. And so the followers of Jesus who would their forefathers were Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Not Constantine,
Come on.
Justin,
Come
Marcion,
on. Come on.
and then in modern times, more modern times, Martin Luther, who
Yep.
changed. He first he said it was a royal race, and then when he couldn't convert the Jewish
Yeah.
people, he changed. And then Hitler said, "I'm just following Martin
Martin
Luther."
Mm.
So we have quite a history, and this is why the Jewish people said to us too, this is what the survivors first said before I was allowed to go into their homes. Don't touch me. You're a Christian. Your people pulled down the shades, closed the doors on us when we were naked and starving and running from the Nazis who were going to put us in the pits.
Yeah.
And I never thought about that before. I wasn't taught that. Nobody told me those things. I just wanted to love on them. They didn't want to touch me at first. Finally, I won their hearts somehow by the Lord, and we started going to all those homes. And Sharon, how come the Christians didn't help us in World War II?
Mm.
They didn't have to love us, but they could have helped us.
Mm.
That's right.
And then I met some German volunteers in Jerusalem. And this is about 1990, 1992, 93. And they said to me, Sharon, you know what our parents and our grandparents did. No. What did they do? In Germany, during the war, the German churches often were built close to railroad tracks. And they were tracks which carried the cattle cars to Auschwitz. And they rolled by the churches. And they said, you know what they did? I said, no, tell me. And they said they were having their church services, and they were singing, and they would hear the hoot of the, you know how a train blows the whistle. And sometimes the trains would stop not far right from the church. And they sang louder as they heard the cries of the Jews. You see, this is, the Jewish people have a 2,000-year-old memory.
Yeah.
Yep.
We think, well, that's way back then. It's over with. But not in their hearts. No national movement has ever, around the world, the Catholic Church did, you know, the Ite, the Latin words for, they did apologize for some things, but it was the Roman Latin people who taught these teachers who came in and kind of put replacement theology in front of all these people. You know, the Jews rejected Jesus. God is done with them. Forget them. We don't need those Jews. When in fact, God said, I put the slumber there. I put the deep sleep there for you all to come in to the kingdom. And when that number is in, then they'll come on. if you're in a Jewish wedding and you have 1,000 Jewish Orthodox in their black hats and coats, who's in the middle? The bride in her white dress. The one thing you don't do, you don't touch that veil and try to remove that veil before it's time. It'll drive them crazy. So we cannot remove a veil that God sovereignly put there, but we can pray that the Spirit of the Lord will open their eyes, because we have more Messianic Jews now than we have ever had.
Yeah.
But as a nation, it still remains in regard to Jesus. So the Bible tells us, what are we supposed to do? We're supposed to clear the road to Zion of all the obstacles that's in the way. Spiritual pride, arrogance toward them,
Yeah.
Christian anti-Semitism. We have to shove them out of the way. We have to work to get them off of the road. And the Bible's clear. Isaiah and Jeremiah says, clear those roads. Get them out of the way, folks, so my people can walk on this holy highway. And that's what Christian Friends of us is all about. So, I'm sorry if I got into a teaching more again.
Oh, this is wonderful.
No, we love it.
You could go more. I
Yes.
mean, we are hungry, we want to
Yeah.
hear. It's,
Say more.
So,
Truth.
it's about building relationships. If I really want to get to know you, I'm going to spend some time with you.
Mhm.
You're going to spend time with me, and we're going to get to know each other. And if you learn to talk as a Jew thinks, and read the Bible through Jewish eyes, because that's
Yeah.
who wrote down the words, men inspired by the Holy Spirit. But they were Jewish men.
That's right.
The prophets were Jewish. The apostles were Jewish. The early church was Jewish. The men who sat with the Lord, what did they hear? He was speaking either Hebrew or Aramaic, the language of the time. He wasn't speaking English.
Or Greek.
Or Greek, right. So we have to learn to see our Bibles and compare translations, because, I was, when I first said, they said that there are some translation mistakes. Oh, I wouldn't accept that. I didn't accept that. No, can't be any mistake in translation. Now I see. Well, that was kind of an immature response from my part, because this is centuries of writing down from scrolls and papyrus, and the translators who began to translate way back there, they used the words that were common in their lifetime,
Yeah.
that they could relate to.
Mhm.
It wasn't from the Hebrew scrolls that they originally often they were written in. So sometimes, most of the Bible is the same, but sometimes there will be a little difference in a word, but then that's different than Gentile forefathers like Constantine and, as we mentioned, Marcion, who said we need 2 complete Bibles. We don't need one. So, the God of the Old Testament's angry God. But the God of the New is compassionate. Well, he's the same Father. And the Torah and the Tanakh is more, it was continued into the writings, not separate.
Yeah.
And Jesus didn't start 2 religions.
No.
So today, because of all the persecution, we really have to work hard, because, I have many Jewish people who want to sit and talk. And rabbis come to my home and we sit, and yeah, I'm astonished too, that they would come to a home and talk with me, but they'll sit there and we'll talk about the Bible, we'll talk about everything. Simply because living with the Jewish people, I've learned, you begin to think Jewish, how to relate to them.
Yeah.
I don't talk about the New Testament, I talk about the Torah and the Tanakh. And I will say, well, you know, the Rebbe we follow, was teaching us the Torah. The word, you know, the grass may fade away and the world may fold up, but not the word of God, it stands forever. And this is how we begin to find common ground. You read the Torah, but you're a Christian. Well, all we possess came from Israel. We don't have anything that didn't come from Israel, do we? So I think it's just kind of, because I've been there so long, but I kind of have learned that. So the ministry is, I want to share with you where we are. Something very strange happened to us as we were getting ready to come here.